If you're not contending in 2024, you can still make moves in Dynasty. Let's talk about 3 rebuilding trade targets you should be going after. To start, I'm on Kendre Miller right now. Currently RB 33 on Keep Trade Cut, and look, he's about to turn 22 years old. If you want to think about it, I think, yeah, like let's say Kendre Miller's a rookie. Heading into this season at 22 years old, probably would be the RB3 in this 2024 class. And the opportunity is obvious. Like the opportunity is there. And if you just came from watching my, contender trade target video where I talked about Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller is the other piece of this, right? I harped on Alvin Kamara's ability to earn targets because it's what makes him so valuable. There's still a whole other piece of this offense, a whole other piece of this run game that is up for grabs. And I think Kendre Miller is sort of being forgotten as a guy that really has a clear path to maybe touch the ball 200 to 225 times this year. Jamal Williams was his main competition last year, and because of the injuries and the health and just being a rookie, he wasn't really able to get rid of Jamal Williams. He never really got right. And I think now I would be shocked if he could not get rid of Jamal Williams in terms of opportunity. He had one game where he was used. It was week 18. He put up just under 15 points and he finished as RB 13. Like that's all we really have to hang our hat on. And I'm not going to sit here and say that's the future. That's what he's going to do. But if we go back to why we were excited about him as a rookie, the versatility, the tackle breaking ability, the consistency between the tackles, all of that is still there. Ideally, health is going to come along with it, and that should make Kendre Miller maybe not a top 20 running back, but a low-end RB2 who then maybe in 2025 has a better path because you're rebuilding. Ultimately, you don't really care about what he does this year. You want him to improve, but him being a superstar doesn't really affect you all that much. Multiple thirds is kind of like the target. He really hasn't been traded much, so there's not trades I can point to and say this is the value. But what I'm giving up for him as an RB3 in Dynasty, which has never been cheaper in terms of just overall value, multiple thirds during rookie season probably gets it done. So that's what I'm looking at. Kendre Miller is an interesting buy low piece here. And now we get to the wide receivers that I think like these two are going to feel a little more obvious, and that's fine, but I'm in. I'm looking at Tank Dell, 24 years old, off the board as wide receiver 23. And like let's just get this out of the way right now. Stefon Diggs is there. Nico Collins is there. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon. This offense is loaded. And Tank Dell's coming off of an injury. So there's not a lot in his favor. Like on paper, it's ugly. But what Tank Dell did before getting hurt, right, 11 weeks into the season, was nothing short of spectacular. 16.3 points per game. The 7th highest ever by a rookie. Like he was on pace to be an all-time great rookie season, right? It really flew under the radar because he got hurt and also because Puka Nacua was doing Puka Nacua things. And most of the time, guys that produce like that early in their career don't just fade into the background. What I care about when I'm buying rebuilders is 2025. What is happening in 2025 when I'm trying to be competitive? Nico Collins is a free agent. Stefon Diggs is a free agent. Now, I don't expect both of them to walk. I think that would be shocking from the Texans, given that CJ Stroud's on a rookie contract. It would almost be irresponsible. But I still think Tank Dell ends up being the best wide receiver of this bunch over the next 3 years. That's the bet I'm making when I'm buying him at wide receiver 23, because realistically, if he was valued as a top 10 wide receiver after the 2025 season, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't even bat an eye at it. I think that's the trajectory he's on, right? He'll be 26 years old leaving that season. I mean, that is the prime of Tank Dell. So when you're a rebuilder, you have to project out a little bit, and that can get difficult because so much changes year to year. But look, we know Tank Dell is talented. Right now, the only thing keeping him here at wide receiver 23 is situation. It has nothing to do with what he did in his rookie year. Otherwise, he would be significantly higher if Stefon Diggs was not in the picture. So when it comes like buying Tank Dell, what do you actually have to give up to, go and trade for him? I found one trade that I think is probably the most interesting, especially as a rebuilder. I think this fits exactly what I would be doing. It is Malik Neighbors, so the 102 in a 1 QB league, for Tank Dell and 2 2025 firsts. As a rebuilder, that's ideal. Obviously, Malik Neighbors is valued higher. Malik Neighbors probably will be better than Tank Dell long term. But as a rebuilder, you're looking for depth. There's a reason you're rebuilding. Your team is not good. Getting a wide receiver like Tank Dell is a massive get. And then you get 2 first-round picks on top of it. That, to me, is the ideal trade for Tank Dell. And to close it out, I'm looking at Jaxon Smith-Njigba, 22 years old, wide receiver 25 on Keep Trade Cut right now. And honestly, the price makes sense. It makes perfect sense because Tyler Lockett is still there. That was what the bet was, is Tyler Lockett's gone after this season, and now it's JSN season, it's DK Metcalf season. This is no longer a blockade, right? Same thing with Tank Dell. For me, though, when I look at what JSN did as a rookie, I am still very intrigued. Putting up a 17% target share, while on paper is not overly exciting, I think it's a solid mark. Doing it alongside Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, that's notable. I think that matters. And his reception perception numbers, at least in season charting, graded out well. He hits a 70% mark versus man. He's solid versus zone. He's solid versus press as well. Grading out green, right, is just from a low level kind of analysis. He gets green grades. That's great. So the route running translated as well, which could have been a concern coming out of college. So he puts up the target share numbers. His route running is still solid. Basically, the reason he's at wide receiver 25 is because the situation didn't do what all of us had hoped it was going to do. I'm still going to just buy the talent because I still think he's a very talented wide receiver, albeit maybe slightly cap ceiling because of his 65% slot rate. That, it's not necessarily the best scenario, but ultimately JSN still is just a guy that is really starting his career. Don't sleep on the idea, right, that Pete Carroll's gone, Shane Waldron is gone, who, if you watched the offseason interview with JSN when talking about Shane Waldron, there was something there where they just did not get along, right? Talking about Waldron moving to Chicago, JSN had almost nothing to say, and especially nothing nice to say.
Bears fans are super interested about the offensive coordinator coming in, Shane Waldron. What can you tell them about who they just hired to try to get this offense where it needs to go?
This is live?
Yeah, we're not live. We're not live.
I'm playing. Good luck to y'all. He's a great person, great offensive coordinator. I was very lucky to have him my first year. Learned a lot from him. I think him and Justin will mesh well, and adding more guys around him, I think it would be great. So we'll see.
And ultimately, right, again, when you're looking at price, he's valued 2 slots behind Tank Dell. There's not a lot of good trades with JSN, so look at the Tank Dell one, right? JSN and 2 firsts from Malik Neighbors feels a little bit grosser than it did with Tank Dell because he has the production to back it up. So maybe try to get an extra second on top or a third, just something a little bit extra to squeeze as much value as you can out of those type of trade back deals, if you want to call it that. And quickly to close it out, because I didn't want to put rookies in this because obviously you want rookies as a rebuilder. They're cheap, they're young, etc. I got 3 names I do want to call out quickly on the rookie side of things. One is Jermaine Burton, valued as wide receiver 62, operating as the wide receiver 3 most likely in Cincinnati, with T. Higgins probably hitting free agency after this season because there's not enough room to pay all of these guys, with Burrow and Chase also very clearly due to get extended, which means 2025 could be Jermaine Burton's hopefully breakout year, assuming he gets his act together as a person. So keep that in mind. You have Jalen Polk, who you guys have heard me talk about plenty on a lot of the live streams, rookie content stuff, but valued at wide receiver 53. Clear path to opportunity in year 1. Gets a upgrade in quarterback from Drake May there from Mac Jones, so he doesn't have to deal with that kind of nonsense or clown show. So Jalen Polk is a name to keep in mind. And then Ben Sinnott, tight end 19, with a clear path to playing time as a rookie with Jaden Daniels, with a new coaching staff, with new ownership. Everything is new there. He's not coming into hopefully the same dysfunction that's been there for feels like my entire life. So Ben Sinnott as an interesting move, kind of opportunity-based tight end. People are saying he's the next Sam Laporta. Look, calling anybody the next Sam Laporta is probably irresponsible, but he's a player that could be valued as a top 12 tight end heading into 2025. So keep an eye on him for cheap as well.